Hello, and you're very welcome back to the Public Eye Business Podcast brought to you by Granite Exchange. I'm your host, Sarah Travers, and as always, throughout the series, I'll be speaking with local entrepreneurs and business owners to learn more about how their companies have come to be, to gain insight into their growth, and find out, crucially, how they continue to innovate. So, wherever you get your podcasts from, remember to keep an eye out for all new episodes and subscribe to stay up to date. Well, joining us today in the Public Eye Podcast studio is John Graham, and John is the Managing Director of Andrew Ingredients, a family-owned supplier of premium baking and food ingredients serving the UK and Ireland. How are you, John?
I'm very well, thank you, Sarah.
Can't wait to get stuck in because it's been quite a journey. Now, you haven't been there for the full 80 years. I know it's a big birthday this year.
Not quite.
But John's journey in the food industry began in 2014 when he joined Andrew Ingredients as commercial director. Then in 2019, John was appointed managing director, succeeding Tim Andrew, and has since been instrumental in driving the company's growth and innovation. So under John's leadership, Andrew Ingredients has just celebrated, as I said, its 80th anniversary, expanded its facilities and launched the Work With Innovation Hub to support the evolving needs of the baking and food industry, which I'm sure we'll get stuck into over the course of the next 40 minutes. But a little bit about you. You're John Graham, not Andrew. So a managing director coming in that wasn't an Andrew.
That's absolutely correct. Yep. So the business, I suppose, has always been run by an Andrew, I'm the first one from outside the family.
Tell us a bit about the business itself. 80 years is a long time. How did it start?
Well, it was started by Bill Andrew, who is our current owner's father. So Tim Andrew's father. He started out really as an agent for bakery margarines. The business started in Belfast in 1945, and really it was a part of the industry then, and then as time has gone on, the range has increased, and now really we provide everything that a baker needs. So we distribute that across Ireland and into GB, and it's been a great story over the last 80 years.
And of course, in Northern Ireland, indeed on the island of Ireland, we love our breads and our baked goods, don't we?
We do. So it's a big part of our culture here. A big part of the food scene is our bakery products, and I think something that is really special is that there's things in Ireland and Northern Ireland that really you don't get anywhere else in the world. So there's a lot of the sort of the hot plate goods in Northern Ireland in particular. So your soda farls and your potato farls and pancakes and things like that are sort of very special products, particularly in the east of Northern Ireland. Actually, that tends to be the biggest place where you get that. Yep.
Yep. So interesting.
As you go west, it changes a little bit, and the tastes up in Derry would be different to what they are in Belfast. Like their cream buns.
Their cream buns, their ice
Derry,
fingers. Is that in the Derry Girls?
That's right. So
and let's not talk about Baps just yet. But the carb police never really caught up with us, did they?
No, and that is the reality. It's it's very much a staple sort of part of our diet. The bakery. And the bread and the baps and things like that are something that people will eat every day. But you also have your sweet treats as well, which probably shouldn't be eaten every day, but I think here a lot of people will as well.
Now, we were chatting earlier before we started recording, and you told me that you were actually an accountant. So you're not a food person, but there was food in the genes.
Yeah, that's right. So my dad owned Sawyer's in Belfast, the delicatessen there.
Oh, my goodness.
From a very early age, I was surrounded by food, and very interesting food as well. So it was very much a sort of a real just incredible place to go into, and to see all the different cheeses and all the different products, and there was always sort of very interesting things like alligator and snake and things like this that you could actually buy as well. Yeah.
I mean, when did Sawyer's open?
Uh, Dad took it over in 1980. I think it's 1800 and something, possibly.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was actually a chain of stores. So there was one in Dublin up until relatively recently, and then I think there were some in Scotland as well. So
Because it was such an iconic place, and I mean, anybody who's anybody had to get their cheeses in
absolutely,
Sawyer's.
yeah.
But I didn't know that you could get alligator and all sorts of
Well,
other things.
I think a lot of that was all to do with a bit of theatre and a bit of,
Of course,
for people to come in and see something different. I don't
didn't take off.
I don't think much of it was sold, to be honest, but it was always good. I did try it as well, but yeah.
So talk to me about your journey then. So it was finance really that you went into. Talk to us about how you ended up where you are today.
Yeah, I mean, I became an accountant, but if you told me, so that would have been, say I was 21 or so, if you told me whenever I was 18 or 19 that I was going to be an accountant, I probably would have been horrified. It really wasn't something that I was particularly interested in. But what I was interested in was business. I really had a passion for business, and I suppose my, the background, my obviously with my dad's business, and then mum was self-employed as well. And
What did your mum do?
she's a marriage guidance counsellor.
Oh goodness,
So
busy.
yeah, that's right. So, and she would have helped a lot in the shop as well. So, we sort of, that was always in my blood, and it was always something that I knew I wanted to be involved in, but I didn't really know how. And I also, I wanted to go and get a degree as well. So it was really just a sort of a pretty unplanned process in a way. But I went away traveling, and after my degree, came back, didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I suppose the more I researched, I realised that accountancy was really a fantastic gateway into business generally.
Had you done the degree in accountancy?
It was in finance, so it was more and more our general sort of
General,
business
okay.
degree. And so that sort of opened my eyes a little bit that, if you have to go through the pain of the sort of the training contract and all that sort of thing, for 3 years, but really, once you come out the other end of that, the world's your oyster. You can go and do so many different things, and I sort of decided then, well, this is a great way to get a good grounding and a good profession, but that hopefully it will open up doors to me in the business world down the line, and that proved to be the case.
Absolutely. Well, that's a real lesson to anybody younger, perhaps thinking
Absolutely.
about what career to go into. Sometimes it's just nose to the grindstone, pass the exams. You don't want to practice at all,
Yeah.
but it's such a great degree to have
Absolutely,
to open
yeah.
doors, and everybody needs to balance the books.
Yeah.
And now look at you. So you came into what did you do after that then? So I looked in our research. You've worked in financial roles in Grant Thornton, KPMG.
Yeah, so I knew I worked out pretty quickly. I didn't want to be sort of an accountant, if you know what I mean. So that led me into corporate finance, which is really a lot of it was spent in mergers and acquisitions in the local market, and also I spent a year over in England as well practicing that. So that was really a way of sort of expanding my horizons a little bit, understanding a bit more about the strategic side of business as well. So it was a very, very enjoyable job. Both at Grant Thornton and KPMG. I really enjoyed it, but at the same time, I knew in my heart that wasn't where I was going to be forever, and I was probably always just keeping an eye out for companies that I was working with, people that I was working with on the client side, and hoping that one day, the right opportunity would come along, and I would be able to go out in the industry with the client. So again, that proved to be the case.
And was it those food companies, that sector that was appealing?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it was totally planned, but I did tend to find that I worked a lot with food companies. That became a little bit of a specialism. I think I probably understood those businesses a little bit more, and I felt very comfortable around food. So I think that sort of happened naturally as opposed to by design, really.
So what happened next?
So in 2011, I suppose that the world had changed quite a bit. There had been the crash, and you saw the peak and the trough of that pretty much within the property crash. I just joined KPMG in 2007, which was the absolute peak, and there's a lot of crazy things happening at that stage.
And where were you based at that point?
That was in Belfast.
In Belfast.
And yeah, I suppose with a great few years, and I suppose towards sport, in around 2010, 2011, the work probably wasn't quite as interesting. It was a lot more sort of recovery type work and distressed and things like that. And just at that time, a company I'd got to know called Deli Lights, which is not too far from here, and got to know Brian and Jackie, who own that company, quite well.
Have been in the studio, yes.
Indeed, they have, yeah. And they had a role, a financial controller role there come up, and Brian really called me, I think, just to see did I know anybody, and I said, well, I might actually be interested in that myself, and yeah, we had a few discussions, and thankfully they took a little bit of a risk on me, I would say, because I was in practice. It was quite a different role, and moving into industry in a company that was, pretty sizable company, a lot of staff, into quite a responsible role that really did involve making sure that, the cash flows are right and that everybody got paid, and, that they had all the information they needed. That was quite a big jump for them. But we got on well, and thankfully they took the risk, and it worked out very well.
And a big jump for you.
It was.
So I find that so interesting. I talk to a lot of people about that big jump that they made or the risk that they took. Was there ever the self-doubt there, or did you know you could do it?
I think I knew I could do it. My grounding was, I wouldn't say I loved it in my training. There was a lot of quite basic accounts type things. Now, I wouldn't have done it for a few years previous, but at the same time, I knew I could do it.
Yeah.
I knew that I would be able to work hard enough to get up to speed. And I suppose ultimately I knew that I wasn't going to go in there and let them down. So, I worked hard, and, I got up to speed. I was well supported. And yeah, ultimately you do have to take these jumps from time to time. And the easiest thing would have been just to have kept doing what I was doing. I was comfortable and everything, but I knew that the opportunity was right, and yeah, you have to back yourself and go for it sometimes.
Completely. And what did you learn about yourself during that process?
I think really that if you've got the skills there, that if you apply yourself, then you can actually do things, even if you can convince yourself that maybe you couldn't do it. But if you've got the grounding there, that that you can take that bit of confidence that you can actually do it. I think I also learned that within a business that I was very at home. I was very at home with the management side of things, with dealing with people, with dealing with the sort of the growth plans of the business and being involved in that side of things. So really it was a bit of a light bulb switch for me, really, and that it just felt like this is where I need to be. This is where my career is now going to be. There was, once I left practice, there was never any doubt that I was going to go back to it.
And definitely business, and large business was a great fit for you. Those gut feelings at 18, 19 were right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't stay at Deli Lights?
No.
What happened then?
So, I was very happy there, and the company was doing really well. But it's a bit of serendipity, really, actually. Back probably in 2006 or so, whenever I was very, very early in my career, and there was a bit of strategic work with a company called Andrew Ingredients. And a man called Tim Andrew. So I was very, very junior, but I was sitting in meetings, and I remember thinking at the time, that seems like a really nice company. Tim seemed like a really nice guy, and as I said earlier on, really, you sort of go through and you work with clients, and sometimes you're thinking, who would you like to work with and what companies would you be interested in? And that was actually one that I had always had in my mind. So really, I stayed in touch with Tim a little bit, but I wouldn't say a lot. And, certainly it could have been, 7 or 8 years before 2014 whenever I got the approach and said talk to him. So really, I got a call from an executive recruiter that I hadn't signed up with, but from a friend of a friend of a friend or something along those lines, that they got my name. As soon as I got the call, and it was explained to me what the role was, which was a non-financial role, if you like. It was a commercial role, and it was a role where Tim ultimately wanted to sort of to take a step back and bring somebody through to run the business, but that might take a little bit of time and require patience on my part. So it was a dream job. It really was. It was just, the actual opportunity to move into that leadership role, never mind the fact that it was a company and a person that I really admired and wanted to work with. It just slotted together. It's just one of these things, in life there's a lot of luck involved, and that was just something that just came about. And I wasn't necessarily looking for another job. In fact, it was just one of those ones came along, and I just couldn't say no. And we met, and the rest was history.
Isn't that another great lesson for everyone listening to that too? And it is about looking at those people that you admire, or you like their values, it's just a good fit for you as well, and then taking the leap, because again, you could have stayed where you were, and I'm sure Jackie and Brian were sad to see you go, but there were opportunities beyond the role you were going into, and you're now in the role of managing director. So obviously Tim saw something in you, and it's a big responsibility too, taking on a family business steeped in history.
It is, and to be honest, I try not to think about that too much.
That's too overwhelming.
Yeah, because there is this is a business that's been going for 80 years. I think there's only about 4 businesses get out of year 5, and there's only 1 gets out of year 20. So, the idea that this is a business at that stage, whenever I was joining, that had been on the go for about 70 years, it really is a real legacy. And, to be put in a position where you're sort of leading that organisation and ensuring that it goes for another 80 years is certainly, there is a bit of a weight of responsibility with that. But I think I always have taken the view not to overthink that, because if you overthink that, you'll end up getting a little bit cautious, maybe not taking the risks that's needed. And the reason the business has lasted for 80 years is that it has adapted and innovated and taken risks along the way in order to grow the business and ultimately last. So I think that's certainly the approach that I've taken. I don't try to think too much about the sort of the longevity of the company, but certainly the history of it's very important, and the history very much shapes the culture of the company today.
And something that you'll protect and look after for years to come. But presumably as well, they saw in you, we've got a handover, we've got to let you lead. And so where do you see the next 80 years? You did mention 80 years, but I don't know how long you'll be there.
Yeah, I don't think
let's
so.
just look at that sort of 5-year plan. Now, what are you going to do? Where are you taking it now? Describe the way the business is now and how it works.
Well, I suppose we've grown a lot over the last 5 years or so. So the business has changed quite a bit, and part of that is, I suppose, what we've done to generate the growth, and part of it is the fact that we've grown has opened up new opportunities. So we've gone from about 15 million 5 years ago to 30 million, and staff numbers have increased from around the sort of mid-30s up to over 50 now. So there's been a lot involved in terms of sort of that growth story, if you like. And one of the big things is that we've been very focused on is, whenever I came into the role in 2019, I suppose I recognised that I probably didn't have a lot of experience, and that I would need some, I suppose, support and guidance, and a bit of sort of experience from outside the company as well. So I went on the Invest NI leadership program, and that was a great experience, and it sort of introduced me to mentoring and coaching and things like that. So really coming out of that, something I really started to understand is that the company, that I couldn't run the company on my own, that if we wanted to grow, we were going to need a lot more leaders in the business, and that we needed to have a team. So we put together a senior management team covering each area of the business, and we then brought in some external training as well, and sort of put the team through a program. I went through it as well with them, and that was really that was a big game changer for me, because I'd been commercial director for 5 years before I was MD, so I there was a pretty gradual transition, and I suppose by the time I became MD, I was probably doing a lot of the functions of the job. But I sort of understood at that stage that if we were going to grow, if we were going to be the type of company that we wanted to be, then it was going to have to be a lot more sort of other leaders taking things on and running with them, and
that you trusted.
Yeah, that's right, and. That I didn't struggle that much with that side of it. We've good people. We've a lot of people who've been in the company for a long time. They know the company very well. They understand our culture and our values. So in terms of actually them making good decisions for the company, that bit has worked well.
So did you recruit the senior management team from existing employees?
Yeah, pretty much.
Good.
Pretty
well,
much.
That must have gone down well.
Yeah. And that's been one of the really nice things over the last few years. With whenever you're a growing company, it opens up opportunities for other people. So it's great that the company's growing in its own right, but the bit that I get a lot of sort of pleasure from is seeing the growth of the people underneath. So we've the growth has allowed that people have sort of gone from and been promoted into managers, and then there's supervisor positions, and so over the last few years we've had lots of opportunities for people, and I think that's really good for people's own career development as well.
And obviously you used to look at that company and think that's an attractive place to work. So presumably under your leadership as well, you're seeing that it is a good place to work. And, people spend so much time at work and, are having then to look after their families as a result of that. So it's crucial that people feel valued and looked after, and then the loyalty will speak for itself.
Yeah, and we talked about, I suppose, the weight of taking on a company that's been around for 80 years. The one bit where I did feel a weight was about protecting the culture. We do have a very special culture, and I think a lot of that flows from Tim himself. He's put together this team and this way of working that is very special. It's not like any other company I've ever worked in.
So how would you describe it?
Well, I think there's a level of support amongst the team. It's I suppose in a very simple term, it's a nice place to work. People are people we have nice people, we have good people. Yeah, there's very little politics there. We're very, very focused on our customers. So I think that is the primary purpose, and I think that really spreads across the business, regardless of what position anybody's working in. Is that we really understand that our customers rely on us, that if we don't deliver, that our customers aren't going to have the ingredients they need in order to bake the products they need in order to make their businesses successful. So there's a real focus on that within the business, and that has got us through a lot of difficult times over the last sort of number of years, where there has been a lot of disruption, and but that sort of that.
Are we mentioning the C word?
Yeah, well, someday it'll be ancient history, but it still very much lives in our
And was that a big thing?
It was, yeah, it was. It was especially big because I suppose I just... So I became MD in the middle of 2019.
I know, I just looked at that. God love you.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things I wanted to do was grow the business, and so we went out and we recruited 2 new sales reps, and we sort of had them in place in January 2020, and yeah, so and then all of a sudden, then we heard about this strange virus that was over in China, and within a couple of months, then it landed here, and by March, really, the world had changed totally,
completely. And how did that impact?
It had a very significant impact certainly in the April and May and June of 2020. It was pretty horrific in that we had, whenever it came, we thought, right, well, people are still going to need to eat food, and they're still going to need bread, so we'll probably be okay, and we'll keep sort of working away. But what we saw happening was that a lot of our customers, particularly smaller customers, they found it really difficult to navigate the sort of the regulations that were coming in, and social distancing and all this stuff. So they started closing down, just temporarily.
Furloughing.
Yeah. So, and
Oh.
I had this, I had a list of, I was getting all the sales team to tell me who was shutting down, and it was just company after company that
So
were
you
all.
can't supply these people.
Yeah, and so it was a pretty scary time, but at the same time, we had faith that people will still need to eat.
Yes.
That this will turn around at some point in time. That the demand for the products that our customers are making will come back. So we sort of just adapted for a couple of months. There was new opportunities that came out actually that were quite interesting. That we wouldn't have seen before. Where we had all of a sudden we're getting a lot of inquiries from England, which we wouldn't have really had before, and people that wanted to buy pallets of flour, and then they were bagging them up and selling them on Amazon and things like that. So,
right.
So there was a lot. I mean, it was interesting looking back. But really from June, I think a lot of the bakery industry realised that they could cope, that they had to cope, and that they started opening up again. And really, since then, we haven't looked back. It's that was sort of the start of quite a rapid period of growth for the company.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a very worrying time, and a baptism of fire for you
Yeah.
as the new MD. I'm sure
right.
you thought, what in goodness name is going on here? But well, thankfully, it's been quite a turnaround, and the growth journey. How have the needs then of your customers evolved in that time, and how then have you adapted the business to stay ahead and meet their needs?
Well, the needs of our customers, they're driven a lot by the sort of the needs and the trends of the consumer that ultimately eats the product. So we find that people are traveling a lot more, so they're interested in different flavours, they're interested in different products. I think social media now is feeding into that as well, where you don't even need to travel. Something that starts in Dubai will arrive here in a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden then people will be interested in that. So we are really, I suppose, focused on trying to identify those trends. So, we use social media in order to try and spot those trends. We rely on our suppliers as well to try and, that they're doing the same, that they're coming to us with new products. And then we will then take our ideas that we'll develop ourselves in our own test bakery, and then try and get those out in social media in order to try and just to give ideas. I mean, our customers are all they're all great bakers. They've great ideas themselves. They come up with great products, but sometimes if we can just sort of light a little fire that they can think, right, well, that we're going to go and do that's good for the industry. It's good that we're able to sort of help these products come onto market quite quickly.
That's very exciting, that test bakery, and I believe it's named after Bill Andrew.
It is indeed, yeah.
So whose job is that? That sounds wonderful, to find the new taste. And is it sort of fillings, flours? What tell me the goods that you would be looking at.
It's really quite it's quite varied. The whole concept around the test bakery, I suppose that really started in 2015, and it was sort of really Tim's baby. Mm-hmm. I think he felt this would be a sort of a cool thing to have, mm-hmm. as opposed to being sort of a fundamental part of the business. But as it turned out, it is a fundamental part of the business, and it's really sort of a key part of how we engage and interact with our customers and our suppliers. So that has developed, and it's sort of developed to such an extent that we actually sort of put an identity on it. We were doing a bit of work with a branding company, and they sort of latched on to this as being something that was different about what we did. So we call it the sort of the work with innovation hub.
I love it.
So as well as the test bakery, then we've got sort of facilities, meeting rooms, and presentation facilities where we bring customers in, we work with them, they bring our suppliers in, and we all, basically it's a collaboration, and we're
brilliant. And a showcase then for everybody.
Yeah, very much so.
And then pushing it out on socials?
Yeah, we do that, and sometimes not. Sometimes it can just be that a customer wants to look at want to look at tray bakes, or want to look at brioche rolls, or want to do something like that, and we'll work with them. We'll show them their options. Give them ideas, and then usually then they'll go away and work in their own bakery and come up with make it their own. And I mean it's a very exciting part of the business. It's something that we're very passionate about, because it takes us out of just selling stuff, a transactional sort of a business, and into something where we're actually, that we're actually adding more value to our customers.
Creating and nurturing and feeding, and we all just love our food, don't we?
Absolutely.
Can't believe we didn't mention tray bakes in the introduction there with all those gorgeous things that come from Northern Ireland. We love our tray bakes.
We do, and they're quite unique actually. The tray bakes to Northern Ireland. Down south they're not as big, and crossing GB they're not as big. We talk to people about 15s outside of Northern Ireland. Nobody's heard of them. So
shame on them.
Yes,
honestly.
I know.
But when they do try them, because I have a best friend who moved from Portrush to Scotland to open her own cafe, and she serves 15s, and she's all the St Andrews students that come down, and they go, "Oh, love their 15s now with their skinny latte or whatever they're having."
Who wouldn't like a 15?
I know, delicious. Do you eat many of the goods yourself? You're looking very trim.
That's very kind of you, but yes, I do. That's one of the downsides in a way, and that there's things being made in the bakery every day, and it just lands up in the canteen upstairs, and we all get to sample them. It is purely for market research, obviously.
Absolutely. I can't believe you didn't bring me any. That's my tummy's rumbling just thinking about all the delicious things that you're doing. So the work with Innovation Hub, absolutely a game changer there. Just a nice to have, has become something that is fundamental to what makes this a great business. What are you doing to celebrate the big 80th birthday? Obviously, we've just passed that milestone, but what's happening this year?
Yeah, well, it's very exciting. Actually, we're running a sort of a celebration event and exhibition on site in Lisburn, so 25th, 26th of June. So we've done this for our 60th anniversary and our 70th, but this one's going to be by far the biggest. So we've got about 20 suppliers coming on site, and they're going to show their products and new ideas, and we're going down the route of sort of trying to go down the sort of nostalgia, as it's called, which is really bringing new products into sort of the nostalgic products. So you're sort of mixing the sort of the new innovations and flavour profiles with maybe traditional products. So that's sort of a bit of a theme and a challenge we've put out to our suppliers, and they're going to be on site, and then we've got all our invites out to our customers, and hopefully they're going to come. We hope we'll have about 500 people throughout the 2 days to come on site and celebrate with us, and hopefully find out about some of the suppliers that we have that might not be aware of, and take advantage of a few deals that we'll have on the day as well.
So if Bill Andrew could see what's happening now and how the company has grown and the nostalgia and the work with Innovation Hub, what do you think he'd make of it?
I think I'm sure he'd be very proud of the fact that he's got a bakery named after him, and hopefully he'd be proud of the fact that we still talk about him, and he's still recognised very much as the founder of the business. I think he'd be very proud of where we are in the industry, what we've done in the baking industry in Ireland. The sort of support that we've given to customers, the service that we've given to customers to support the baking industry. The fact that we, work with the colleges and students in order to try and sort of bring them through and give them the skills that they need, and that we're really trying to enhance and protect the sort of the baking traditions that exist in these islands, for future generations.
And where are you going to go next with the business? You've already branched out across the UK, but I'm just thinking of who your customers are now and who are they going to be?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I mean, nothing stays the same in the food industry. It evolves and changes all the time. So I think for us, a big thing is that, firstly, we will make sure that we keep providing excellent service to our existing customers. But our strategy going forward is that we'd like to try and bring what we do to other sectors of the food industry as well. So, there's sort of vibrant food manufacturing industry. There's snack foods have become very big. There's ice cream as well. There's even things like pet foods so these are all sectors that we've had a look at. And
pet food.
Yeah, there's ingredients that we sell that can be sold into all these different sectors.
Okay.
But we've traditionally been very focused on bakery. We know it very well, and we've got a strong presence there. But we think that there's opportunities in other sectors and other geographies as well. We would hope that the GB market's still very small for us. The Republic of Ireland market is big, but it's still smaller than Northern Ireland, and we see that there's opportunities there as well. So. I think it's really just trying to take what we do and to do more of it across a wider geography and wider sectors.
Well, people love their pets too, so I'm sure they'll
do.
all be fed very well with the finest ingredients. So I'm just wondering now, if you open your big warehouse doors now, what products are there and what would those shelves look like in the future?
Well, I mean, I think that there's probably a lot of the products that if you'd opened the warehouse 50 years ago, there's a lot of products that are there that are still there now. So the sort of the basics in terms of flour and sugar and fats and yeast and things like that. These are sort of fundamental ingredients within the bakery industry, and will continue to be so. I think where things have changed is that we're seeing certain ingredients that are coming along in order to address whether it be sort of regulatory or technical things within the bakery industry. So there might be, say, salt reduction, sugar reduction. So there is some innovation around that where there's ingredients that can be used in order to sort of achieve similar taste profiles, but without the sort of the negative effects of those ingredients. And then there's also the trends of new types of products and flavours. So the big one at the minute is pistachio. It just has gone a bit crazy.
Everybody's loving their pistachio.
Yeah.
Oh.
So again, a lot of that's driven by social media, and a lot of it happens very, very quickly. And we have to try and react as quickly as possible, get product in so that our customers can take advantage of that. So I think that probably you'll see a lot of the fundamental products will still be there, but that we'll see a lot more of those sort of flavor profiles coming from different places in the world over the next few years.
And has the Test Bakery come up with a pistachio product?
Of course,
oh gosh.
Of course. And
tell me about it.
Keep an
I'm
eye.
Starving now.
If you keep an eye on our social media, you'll see there will be a few concepts coming out over the next few weeks.
Oh gosh, it sounds delicious. What do you do outside of work? How do you achieve work-life balance?
Well, I suppose a lot of my time is spent really with family. To be honest, I have a young family, so both the kids are 10 and 12. So we have transfer tests and all that sort of stuff that we've been going through. So really, I think it's about getting that quality time with them and making sure that with the busyness of work that we kind of still take time to enjoy family time. So yeah, I mean that takes up a lot. I think as they get older, I'll certainly try to get back into some of the hobbies that I used to. I used to love surfing, which I haven't done in about 20 years. So I always have it in my mind that I'd like to get back to that again.
You'll get your life back at some point. Yeah, I'm sure you will. Well, thank you so much. What an interesting conversation. What an interesting accountant you are. Thank you so much, John. Now, the final question. Can't let you leave before asking this one. The purpose of this podcast is to inspire existing business owners and ambitious entrepreneurs to grow their business by offering an insight into the success of businesses such as Andrew Ingredients. But what advice then would you give to people who may have a business idea but have no idea where to begin or are unsure as to whether the risk is worth taking? I
think the first thing is to really think about it, what you want to do, and to do something that you're interested in, that you can be passionate about, and ultimately that you're going to enjoy. Business isn't easy. There's lots of challenges and tough moments. So if you need to be sure that it's something that you're going to enjoy, and because that's what you need in order to get you through the difficult times. The other thing I would say is not to overthink things. You maybe get a bit of a gist through my journey is that not everything's been sort of very intricately planned. And Steve Jobs did a commencement speech that's really interesting, and in that he talked about connecting dots, and he said you can't connect dots looking forward. You can only do it looking backwards. And really what that means is you have to have the trust that these dots are going to connect in the future. And that ultimately, if you've got that confidence that things are going to work out in the future, it'll allow you to take the risks that you need to take in order to grow your business.
Isn't that brilliant advice? It's so true as well. John Graham, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. John Graham, Managing Director of Andrew Ingredients, celebrating 80 years here in Northern Ireland. Thank you so much. Continued success. And thanks for tuning in, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Join me again next time for another fantastic episode of the Public Eye Podcast. This podcast was recorded in Granite Podcast Studio. Interested in starting up your own podcast but don't know how? Granite Podcast Studio can help. Record your podcast in our state-of-the-art studio, which is based in the heart of Newry City. Our studio has cutting-edge and user-friendly technology and can seat up to 4 people. We also provide an editing service for our team, using your guidance and editing notes to provide you with a flawless finished product, leaving your listeners wanting more. For more information on how you can get started, visit www.granitepodcaststudio.com.